What does $2 million actually get you on the Oregon coast? We're going to find out in this video. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from the Oregon coast. In this video, we're going to look at the $2 million range on the Oregon coast and really illustrate the wide range that you can get. The Oregon coast is really, really big, split up into three regions: the northern coast, the central coast, and the southern coast. And you get a different atmosphere, different environment, different landscape in some ways, different culture in some ways, depending on where you are on the Oregon coast. Up north, you're going to be, closer proximity to the population centers in Oregon. A lot of that's true on the central coast too, and then it starts to get a little more rural, in fact, much more rural and much more removed on the southern Oregon coast. And so, between the 363 miles of coastline that you have on the Oregon coast, you're going to get a really big range as far as how far your dollar is going to go. Now, the luxury market is not all that expansive anywhere on the Oregon coast. Prices are going to be higher on average on the northern coast in particular, some parts of the central coast, and you're going to be much more affordable on the southern Oregon coast, or at least your dollar's going to go a lot further on the southern Oregon coast. So we're going to show all of that, or I think all of that is going to be illustrated when we look at this $2 million range and what's for sale right now on the coast. And hey, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We've helped so many people relocate to the Oregon coast, buy a second home, a vacation home on the Oregon coast. As real estate professionals, we absolutely love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us so we can talk all about it. All right, so a little bit of a raw format here. I'm just going to take a look at a Zillow search that I set up. I'll tell you a little bit why here too in a second. I'm just using Zillow, but let's go check out what you can get right now for $2 million on the Oregon coast. Okay, so I mentioned I'm just using Zillow for a quick search here. We're going to take a look at the current inventory on the Oregon coast at $2 million in that range, in that pocket, 1.9 to 2.1. And I'm using Zillow because although there is one primary MLS in Oregon, there is a local MLS in Lincoln County on the central coast here. Sometimes those don't show up in the main statewide MLS. And so everything that is currently listed is going to be pulled into Zillow. In fact, people often ask us, what's the best platform to use to search for homes? Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. You can see some anomalies. Sometimes things don't populate correctly on, one or all of those websites, but by and large, anything that's actively listed in the MLS, publicly listed, is going to be pulled into those platforms. So if you like using Zillow, if you like using Redfin, you're not, there's no setback using one over the other. They're all going to be showing everything that is currently listed with a few very minor and rare exceptions. So looking at the map here, we can start there, like I talked about. And as you may know, the Oregon coast is separated into the northern, central, and southern coast. This northern coast, obviously, you have a lot more proximity to Portland. So you have a little more density. I think the prices reflect that you're pulling in from the most populated area in Oregon and Southwest Washington here on the northern coast. And really even on the central coast, a lot of the central coast you can get to from Portland in 90 minutes, a couple hours at most. But you also have Salem and Eugene going out to the central coast as well. So this kind of top third of the I-5 corridor is where the majority of people in Oregon live. And so I think because of that, there's a higher demand, a higher buyer pool for second homes and things like that for people who live in a drive-in distance on this northern and central coast. On the southern coast, it's much more isolated, which has its benefits and has its setbacks as well. But you'll see because of that, the buyer pool, the demand is lower, is smaller overall for the Central Coast. So that's going to explain why you see this higher volume of higher priced homes in particular on the northern and central coast. So let's start with the northern coast and work our way down. I think somebody looking in the even 1.5 to 2.5 range up to 3 million is probably going to by default be looking more on the northern Oregon coast because there's more offered in some of these communities. There's not going to be too much over that $3 million mark, really, on the Oregon coast. Like I mentioned, the luxury market on the Oregon coast is not all that expansive. I mean, there are a fair amount, really a lot of oceanfront homes, beautiful oceanfront homes. In fact, you don't necessarily need to spend 1.5 to 2 million plus to get a home that is right on the ocean, right on the beach. So you see a higher volume again on the northern coast here, a couple here on the central coast, and then a couple here on the southern coast in this $2 million range. So let's take a look at some of these. So, this is a pretty good example of what you can find in some of the gated or private HOA communities around GEARHART. This one is in Pinehurst. Really, really cool community. Everybody's got like an acre lot. The HOA has this beach access, so private access to the beach. None of the beaches in Oregon are private, all public beaches, but the access points are private, and that's really where you can, find a little more privacy in that, somebody might be able to well, somebody would be able to go to GEARHART and kind of the town center in GEARHART, for example, and access the beach, obviously, but they're probably not making, their way all the way up to the beaches or the beach here in Pinehurst, for example. And there's a few other communities like Pinehurst, maybe a half a dozen or so. I've actually toured this home. It is huge. I mean, 5,000 square feet. It really just goes on and on. Beautiful, sweeping 180-degree view. Um, Needs a little bit of work. You're going to find that a ton with these houses. For second homes in particular, I think, when people get to the point where they sell them, they haven't necessarily invested a ton recently. It's usually like they've had it in the family for a long time. Maybe they remodeled at some point, but, maybe 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a nice house, totally livable as is, but I think for a lot of these homes, even in the luxury price points, you're going to find that a lot of people would probably want to come in and do some updating or at least make it their own. But again, this house is a pretty good representation of what you can get in the GEARHART area if you are in this again 1.5 to 2.5 million dollar range. And this one is listed just under $2 million. You're also going to see that days on market is going to be really high for properties like this. Not that big a buyer pool for people who are in this $2 million range. The people who are buying these homes aren't going to be local, right? So it's not like they can just go out and tour a bunch of houses on a weekend. I mean, oftentimes people have to book flights, fly to Portland, drive out, and it's a whole thing even just to vet some of these properties and do some of the property tours. This is listed by Remax Coastal Advantage. And another thing that you're going to find, we won't look at this necessarily for all of them. I don't want to bore you too much, but you'll see the price history. This one went on the market in 2024 for 2.4, so it's dropped $400,000 and it's been on and off the market for over a year. I mean, they took it off the market for a month, right? In 2025, sold in 2003 for 1.1, 1.2. You'll see some interesting patterns, with when homes were sold, what they were sold for, and how much they've appreciated. I mean, the market on the Oregon coast has appreciated a ton in the last 5 years, in particular during that kind of COVID era market, 2021, 2022. I mean, you saw a solid 40, 50% appreciation in home values. And there has been, that has receded quite a bit too. So I don't know if the market has completely adjusted at this point. Here we are at the end of 2025 to, reflect exactly where the market is. That's why you're seeing, a lot of the stuff that's been listed has been on the market for so long. We don't quite know yet where all of these are going to fall, but I have one under contract right now, for example, in Gearhart that was listed at 2.75, started at 2.9, and we have it under contract for considerably lower. Okay, so zooming in to this area here, this is Manzanita. So I should mention too that kind of no matter what, you'll probably find the highest volume of homes in this price range between, I mean, definitely some up here around Gearhart and the areas we were just mentioning, some of the more private gated HOA communities around Gearhart, really desirable. But then Cannon Beach, Arch Cape, and Manzanita is going to have the highest volume of homes in this range, in more of kind of the luxury higher end price points. Nothing's pulling up in Cannon Beach or Arch Cape right now. This is the most expensive area on the Oregon coast. Definitely more of a luxury upscale feel. And if we're looking at Manzanita, really, really desirable community. It's a lot like Cannon Beach. You've probably heard of Cannon Beach. Maybe you've heard of Manzanita as well, but it's much more laid back. I mean, it has like kind of a main street, main drag commercial area, shops and restaurants and things like that, but not nearly at the volume that Cannon Beach does. I think a lot of people would go to Cannon Beach to hang out. It's a great tourist destination if you were spending a weekend or a week on the Oregon coast. If you were going to the Oregon coast more often, or there more kind of as a resident, even if it was part time, I think Manzanita might be a little more attractive in that way. And it's like if you live in Manzanita or if you have a house in Manzanita, you're going to be able to get up to Cannon Beach, pretty quickly, 20-minute drive up north there. So these two in Manzanita, I think are also pretty representative of what you can get in this price range. I mean, 8 bedrooms, that's pretty incredible. 3,300 square feet. So it's not the biggest house, but with 8 bedrooms, it's pretty well suited, pretty well set up for a big family vacation home. Could potentially be a rental as well, or you could do a hybrid, which a lot of people do. I find that less so at these higher price ranges. People are looking to do like Airbnb and short-term rentals and things like that. It can also be hard to get a license. There's not a lot of areas where you can get a short-term license at least right away. But one of the things that you'll find that all of these homes are going to have in common is, these big, beautiful, sweeping ocean views and access to the beach. That's really where you pay a premium no matter what on the Oregon coast, because that is the biggest draw to the area is the beach, the ocean, the views, the beauty. So not only having the view, but the access, again, that's really where you'll see a ton of value added to a home that otherwise might look like it would sell for half of the price it's listed for, if it didn't have those attributes. So here again, kind of quaint, cozy, but small little kitchen, not updated or remodeled, at least in the last 25, 30 years, maybe longer. And I think a lot of people might look at this and be like, gosh, I'm going to spend $2 million for that kitchen. It's not uncommon to see this type of arrangement. And it's like, I think some people could kind of appreciate the cozy cabin vibe that it has, and don't really care as much about it being updated necessarily. I think there is some draw to that extent, but at the same time, I mean, you look at this like this house is built for capacity. They're not wasting any square footage on the kitchen. This house is meant to pack a lot of people in. So again, something that's good for like for a big family. Oh, you have a second little kitchen here too, so you can have a couple families come stay. So this is a little more of a unique property. This one is probably a little more traditional here. And again, I mean, under 3,000 square feet, only 3 bedrooms, so a little bit smaller, but the sleeping capacity would be far fewer here as far as beds in this one. And you see that, this is a little more of an upscale kind of luxury, feeling home. You still get the big sweeping view. You got an elevator. That's pretty cool. Nice big deck, some outdoor space. There again, not an enormous kitchen. Um, Not necessarily remodeled, to like today's standards. And you're still at 2.1 million. So again, I think for a lot of these places, really pretty turnkey, but a lot of people might come in here and say, you know, we might need to put an extra few $100,000 in here to really make it what we would want it to be. But a beautiful home, I mean, looks like it's been pretty well cared for. And I think those two properties, kind of an older, more eclectic with the 8 bedroom, and then more of a traditional home, at 2.1, kind of shows a pretty good range of what you can get. Going down the line, starting to get toward the central coast, still at kind of the bottom half of the northern coast. You've got around Oceanside and Netarts. This one's down on Netarts Bay, 5 acres. A lot of these homes will have a little more property too, which is relatively rare on the Oregon coast. But once you start getting into the higher price ranges, you'll find, you might have at least a third of an acre or half an acre, sometimes an acre. This one, 5 acres, is a little bit unique. And obviously, this is like a custom home and kind of cool, has like an old timey feel to it. But it would have to be somebody's style for sure. Otherwise, again, it would take some pretty significant remodel to bring it up to somebody's standard if this wasn't your style. Netarts Oceanside is another area, though, where you're going to see a fair amount of higher end, luxury, higher priced homes. And this is a beautiful area. This is just due west of Tillamook here, which is a little more inland. But you're about 15 minutes to Tillamook to get to groceries and things like that. And you're, very private out here, not isolated, but removed from Tillamook and, from the larger town. And these are just little kind of coastal villages with, beautiful views. Really, really nice out there. This one, a little more of a one-off because you're inland here through this Beaver Hebo corridor. Then you get down to Pacific City, where you're also going to find a fair amount of luxury, higher end options. Beautiful home here. This is up on the hill above town, so a little bit more dense. 7,500 square foot lot. So this neighborhood in there up above town is a little more developed, but really, really beautiful home here. I mean, look at that. You've got the Nestucca Bay, the Nestucca River coming in, big ocean view. Perched up on the hill there. There's a lot to like. Nice, little more contemporary. Definitely appears to be a custom home as well, or somebody came in and put a lot of their touches on it. Really, really nice here. And such an interesting contrast, too, when you look at the couple in Manzanita, which tends to be higher priced. Manzanita, compared to this one, just under 2 million, 3,100 square feet, 3 bedrooms, but really, really dialed in. I mean, just again, style wise, it's all a matter of preference. Obviously, this one might not be exactly somebody's style, but objectively, a beautiful, beautiful home here. Really well done, well put together. Built in 2006, so this one has had some updating since it was built 20 years ago. Okay, moving right along here. I had accidentally clicked on this one a couple times. This one is in Rhodes End on the north side of Lincoln City. This is another community that is a little more removed from the population center, although it's a little more dense. It's on the north side of Lincoln City and removed from the highway a little bit, Highway 101. 6 beds, 4,000 square feet. Logan Road runs right along the ocean and the beach here. You can see right here. Just all these homes are right on the ocean. A lot of them have their own access to the beach. There is a little park in Rhodes End with public access to the beach. So the beach is going to be a little more crowded, a little less private there. This kind of looks like the one in Pacific City. Similar price, bigger, 6 bedrooms as opposed to 3 bedrooms. So this one's really, really cool. Wow. Again, a little more dense, I guess the one in Pacific City was 7,500 square feet on the lot. Maybe a little more rustic, kind of a cabin feel on this one too. But a lot of sleeping rooms, big, beautiful ocean views, and a third of an acre lot. Part of that is going to be because the property line extends down to the beach, which is the case for all of these ones. Okay. So it's not until we get down to this bay shore area. So interesting. I mean, you know, you'll notice nothing in Newport, at least in this $2 million range. Um, so we're just looking at the current inventory right now. I don't want to go too off on too many tangents here, but this one is interesting. So it's Seal Rock. So it's actually just north of Bayshore, technically Seal Rock in this little unincorporated community, but you're kind of right in between, just a little offshoot off of Highway 101 here. So right at 2 million, 2,700 square feet, so and 3 bedrooms. So on the smaller side of what we've seen, but architecturally interesting, definitely unique, a little different compared to a lot of what we've seen. Some similar attributes, the dark wood tones, you'll see a lot of that. Um, I think with a lot of these houses on the Oregon coast, in particular on the higher end, and yeah, I mean, right on the beach, right on the ocean. I mean, look, I mean, you know, not the most impressive kitchen, you know, by any stretch of the imagination. And again, some people want a big open concept, you know, luxury upscale kitchen, you know, especially if people are going to be doing holidays and, you know, hosting big family events. Otherwise, not everybody needs it. So, you know, there's still some things to like about this property, but you see it at 2 million, smaller, fewer bedrooms than some of the other options we've seen. And this one is in Seal Rock, 3 acres, so more privacy there for sure. You're going to have uh, beaches that aren't crowded at all, necessarily. You know, as far as at least the immediate area from this house, 3 acres, more space. You know, I mean, there is a lot to like with this one. Let's see what else. YACHATS is another area where you might find some options in this price range. Florence, not so much. If so, it would be in this Hasita Beach area. There is some beachfront stuff. Really nice little community in there. And then also Dune City. There's some really nice houses up above Silk Coos and Wohink Lake here. So you'll get some more lakefront stuff, even Lake Mercer or Mercer Lake here in Florence. You'll get some higher end luxury lakefront, which is cool because you're a 5 minute drive, maybe 10 minute drive to the beach or to beach access, but you're just a tad more inland, a little bit of a different climate, even being on the lakes. Okay, Bandon is another community where you might find a higher volume. It's a smaller town, but a higher volume, kind of per capita at least, for the higher end luxury stuff. In particular, kind of up on this bluff here on this west southwest side of town. Newer home built in 2022, 5,000 square foot lot. So small lot, 3 beds, 2,300 square feet. So among the smaller properties that we've seen, kind of a run of the mill 2022 home. You know, maybe some higher end finishes, you know, that we're not seeing in the photos. I mean, looks nice, more contemporary. Again, I mean, this is what you would expect of a 2022 home kind of anywhere. But yeah, I mean, yeah, nice appliances. Looks like it was well done. I mean, obviously you can see the view of the ocean that you get, although you're not directly oceanfront. So smaller house, fewer bedrooms, not directly oceanfront, still at $2 million in Bandon, at least. A lot of the what a lot of the value that can be attributed to being in Bandon on the luxury side in particular is the draw to the golf resort and the Bandon Dunes golf courses. You know, draw people from all around the country and all around the world, world-class golf. A couple of the courses there at least are ranked, you know, top 10 in the country. So really, really big draw to Bandon for kind of that more luxury upscale market, you know, that the golf course brings in. And I think there was only one or two more that we were looking at. Yeah, all the way down here in Brookings, which you can find some higher end luxury homes in Brookings. Beautiful, beautiful area. Brookings is going to draw more people from California too. You know, which from an economic standpoint changes things a little bit. You know, as far as where you might find some pricing. This one's on Sandpiper Place. I mean, right on the ocean. I mean, again, some of the most beautiful coastline on all of the Oregon coast and the West Coast for that matter, you know, is here in Brookings. And, you know, this one, yeah, I mean, you kind of see a theme with some of the darker tones, you know, a little more updated, more contemporary than some of what we've seen. Again, even if it's not everybody's style necessarily, I mean, everything is really consistent and well put together here. The vessel sink shows me that you know this hasn't necessarily been updated or remodeled in the last 15 or 20 years, probably. Let's see if we can see an ocean view photo. So yeah, you see this back patio and you can see the beach here, which is, again, going to be more private, which I think a lot of people appreciate. Built in 2011. So yeah, probably a lot of what you're seeing in there is more original. 4 acre lot. So 4 acres oceanfront is pretty incredible and again, relatively rare. And you see this is just a little community south of town here, Brookings Harbor. And I mean, you could throw a rock at the Oregon California border. You could throw a rock into California. Um, Not literally, obviously, but you're kind of the southernmost community in Oregon here for this last one. Yeah, just an interesting snapshot. I think the only filters I ran was this $2 million range, and it has to have a water view, so it doesn't necessarily even have to be beachfront, oceanfront. But by default, you're going to find that a lot of the properties in this category, in this price range, rather, are. Even if they're a street or two removed, they're typically going to have a big open view of the beach and of the ocean. But only 10 homes in this price range right now. Granted, we're in a little bit of a slower time of year, but I think this is pretty reflective of what you can anticipate. Throughout most of the year, as far as what you can find. It'd be interesting to say 2 million to 3 million, see how many more there might be. Now if you were pushing the budget up toward 3 million, if we go to 2 to 3 million, a much bigger range, obviously, than what we were just looking at. 26 results here. Let's do 2.1 because we had that at our high end. 24. Okay, that knocked out a couple we've already seen, but I think a lot of what you're going to see here is probably more luxury, upscale feel, finishes, things like that, and size too. So 7,700 square feet, 5,500 square feet, 5,000, 4,600, 5,000 square feet, 4,500 square feet. So more house on average for sure. And maybe newer, more contemporary, things like that. That's something maybe we can check out in another video. Well, I've got you, since we're here, we could look at even just a tick below that $2 million range. I think our low end was 1.9 when we were looking. So yeah, 1.5 to 1.9, you got 11 results. And, some of these are still pretty big. I mean, 4,700, 5,600, 4,800. I think you'll see a lot of the value attributed to the size, the view, the access, again, and of course, the condition, the age, and what type of investment somebody would need to come in and make to kind of really make it their own. But, there are some options just below that $2 million range too, where I don't think you necessarily have to give up too much or sacrifice too much. Gosh, this is one that I toured a few months ago, and this was at 2 million. Now it's down to 1.8. Really cool home in Arch Cape. I mean, this is like traditional Arch Cape. A little smaller, 2,000 square feet, but Arch Cape is the highest priced community on the Oregon coast. I mean, this is just like the quintessential beach cottage, but 4 beds. It's got a little loft. It's got enough bedrooms. You can still sleep a fair amount of people. But this here is pretty indicative of where the market is too, because this would have shown up in our $2 million price range. But it's dropped to under 1.8. So this one, yeah, I mean, okay, it was on at 1.9. Now we're down at 1.8, but it's been on the market since July. So there you have it. So I hope that was somewhat enlightening, depending on what you might be looking for and where on the Oregon coast. I think a lot of people will come in to this process with a set budget in mind. And I think a lot of people end up being really surprised that they don't have to go all the way toward the top end of their budget to find what they're looking for. Or you'll see a really big range, like we just illustrated on the back end of this video. Is like, you might say 2 million's the budget or the top of the budget, but you could very easily find something at 1.5, 1.6, for example, that looks a lot like what you're seeing at 2 million or 2.1. And often there isn't a ton of rhyme or reason to what somebody priced their home at. In particular in this market. I think a lot of people, when they have this type of asset and maybe they bought it 20 years ago for half the price that it could sell for today, and they don't need to sell it right now, there's not urgency. They might say, okay, well, if this home is maybe a 1.8, $1.9 million house, let's put it on at 2.25 and see what happens. That happens a lot. So we have to be able to kind of snuff that out and see what comps look like and see what value we can actually attribute to a particular home. And it starts to get more ambiguous the higher you go. So you get over 2, up to 2.5, up to 3 million plus. Again, you see some real head scratchers as far as how they came up with the price that they listed it at. And again, most often I think it's just ambitious pricing with little urgency to sell. And you'll see a lot of these homes end up selling for a premium. And a lot of them are very unique. A lot of them, well, really are truly one of a kind homes in the exact view that you have, the exact type of beach access you have, the configuration of the home, the architectural style, the condition, compared to like just your run of the mill residential subdivision or development, where there's 4, 5, 6 different floor plans, and a lot of the houses are very much the same. You get a much bigger range on the Oregon coast. So if you want to talk more about what the real estate market is like on the Oregon coast and how to really start digging into the true value of a property, in particular relative to what it's listed for today, if you want to talk about different neighborhoods, different areas on the Oregon coast, whatever it may be, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk all about it. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.